Political commentator Steven Crowder announced in April 2023 that he was in divorce proceedings with his wife Hillary. Soon after, security camera footage was released that showed Steven berating Hillary and aggressively commanding her to do some chores.
You're not committed to anything. You just said I love you, I'm committed to that. Walk the dogs, put on some gloves. I need to walk the dogs, put on some gloves. Are you committed enough to do those things?
Public discussion of the matter showed differing opinions.
But bro, that's telling. He gives her clear directions. I need you to do this. No, but I love you.
Some thought this was simply a typical marriage squabble.
From 1 to 10, that was a 1 easy to watch.
Wow.
You desensitized. That is literally, no, I ain't gonna lie. That is literally a marriage.
Most people seem to agree the exchange showed something more sinister and damaging.
It's this very sort of controlled, methodical debasement of her character and her performance in the relationship. It's a super abusive interaction. No question.
Discipline and respect. Who thinks it works when a man tries to explain to a woman why she should be disciplined, why she should be respectful? Who thinks that works?
Some small anomalies in the video's timecode and captions did raise questions, and they led some to wonder if the original article's account was reliable. But after looking at the surrounding facts and commentary, we believe there is enough information available to call out Steven's behavior as abusive. Our method for recognizing abuse uses the 4 tools framework, which begins by identifying 4 elements that describe abusive relationships. Entitlement is when one person has protected rights and privileges that the other does not share. Control is when one person believes they have the right to impose their will on the other. Coercion is when one person believes they have the freedom to enforce their own will. And compliance occurs when the controlled party acquiesces to the entitlement, control, and coercion of the abuser to their own hurt. These elements are served by the 4 tools, which describe the tactics an abuser will use to establish and protect their privileged status. These start with isolation, where loyalty to the abuser is fostered to the exclusion of other important relationships, especially those that threaten the abuser's entitlement. Then we have deflection, where the responsibility and negative attention is shifted away from the abuser toward others. Manipulation is the destructive and deceptive influence that provides the abuser what they want, at the expense of the victim's autonomy. And lastly, we have intimidation. Intimidation is any behavior that cultivates fear in the victim, and any kind of fear can be exploited, such as fear of abandonment, of social censure, or physical harm. Which of these tools and elements can we notice in this video?
Listen to me. You want to walk out right now? Listen to me. I can't go to the gym. I can't go to my parents.
This whole exchange is essentially a tug-of-war, with Steven on one side insisting that Hillary take care of the dogs, and on the other side, Hillary trying to go to the store to get groceries.
No, that doesn't work either. You'll be back when you're back. That doesn't work either.
As you watch it unfold, you can observe Steven's privileged status in the relationship as he calls himself the man and argues that he is entitled to Hillary's respect and compliance.
The only way out of this is discipline and respect. It's the only way out of it, and we're at an impasse.
We are at an impasse.
Good. Because you can't have any discipline and respect.
This displays the first element of abuse, entitlement.
You give up so easily. I just said the only way out of this is discipline and respect. You said
Hillary is not as weak in the relationship as she could be, and you can see this when she does confront his abuse.
Your abuse is sick.
However, each time she makes this accusation, Steven ratchets up the pressure.
Fucking watch it.
He clearly believes he is entitled to control Hillary's behavior, and he also believes that he is entitled to coerce her into compliance. Everything Steven does in this video is in the service of bringing his wife into a state of compliance. We can observe each of the 4 elements of an abusive relationship. Next, we look into the tactics of the relationship. How does each person seek to achieve their goal? Hillary does seem distressed with how Steven is treating her, and she calls it out. However, she suggests alternatives, even offering to defer to his choice of which friend she calls. She is also conciliatory and tries to reassure Steven of her love.
I love you.
Steven, on the other hand, uses a variety of commonly abusive tactics in the service of trying to get Hillary to comply. The video begins with Steven drawing a boundary, by which he means that he is going to ground Hillary and prevent her from going to the store. He forbids this, apparently because she called him abusive and cruel. This kind of punishing or threatening behavior amounts to intimidation, and it displays a profound lack of love, which Steven later acknowledges.
I don't love you. That's the big problem.
When Hillary suggests that she can simply call a friend, he takes that suggestion as a threat. And while her relationship with a friend is likely to feel like a threat to him, it is really just a threat to his control. Abusers commonly try to limit contact between their victim and other people who might undermine their entitlement. This is a form of isolation. At one point in the video, she asks Stephen to speak kindly, and he responds, "You first." The implication is that she is being unkind by calling out his abuse, and this justifies his own lack of kindness. He effectively avoids taking responsibility for whatever behaviors Hillary believes are abusive. This is deflection. There are several points where we can see manipulative tactics being used. He plays the victim by complaining that taking the car will prevent him from a series of things, although it is hard to see how it prevents him from calling his parents. He paints the inconvenience to himself as intolerable.
No, that doesn't work either. You'll be back when you're back. That doesn't work either.
Also, when Stephen says, "I don't love you," and "I have never received love from you," he shows that his love for her is conditioned upon her compliance, and that he believes she should have to prove her love by complying with his demands. These are all emotionally abusive tactics that amount to manipulation. So we can observe each of the 4 tools being used by Stephen. When a harmful relationship has all 4 elements present, and when all 4 tactics are also observable, we can conclude that it is an abusive relationship. This kind of exchange is unfortunately commonplace among intimate relationships, but it should not be so. This behavior is abusive and should not be accepted as normal. If you are in this kind of relationship, please realize there are resources available to help with situations exactly like this. To someone in Hillary's position, we would say, stay connected to people who speak truthfully to you. Refuse to take the blame for other people's harmful behavior. Live freely with integrity. You don't have to accept fear as a normal and healthy way of relating to others. To Stephen, we would say, you have become skilled with verbal tactics that serve you well for rhetorical debate and for entertaining your audience. But these tactics will never serve you well in personal relationships. Don't believe your own press. Cultivate humility so that those closest to you can experience the freedom to speak to you with integrity. Let go of the impulse to change them into the people you believe they should be, and let go of the anger that arises out of unmet expectations.